hits the floor.
So we are talking about the short fan film Search and Destroy, a Strontium Dog fan film. Now, I don't normally review fan films, to be honest. I have done a couple here and there in the past, but I happened to come across this one on YouTube, and you can watch it for free right now. I will leave links in the description box below. But I used to be a big 2000 AD fan back in the day, and Strontium Dog is, I guess, unless you were reading those publications, is maybe one of the lesser known characters. Obviously everyone kind of knows Judge Dredd, which is the biggest one, but Strontium Dog, as of yet, hasn't got much love in regards to screen presence and stuff like that. So here he is, Johnny Alpha, in a fantastic fan film. I won't go too much into the plot. The actual film is around 20 minutes long, so I don't want to kind of give anything away. Suffice to say, to give you a very brief synopsis, it's essentially a kind of a bounty hunter film. Johnny Alpha and his partner is kind of go on a mission to basically get some bad guys, and you basically obviously see what transpires within that. There are a couple of twists and turns. Suffice to say, that's all I'm going to say on the plot here. So, what do I think about this film? Well, let's get any negatives out of the way first of all. And I would say two things. First of all, I would say this is maybe a little bit inside baseball. If you're not familiar with Strontium Dog or 2000 AD, then I feel it's not particularly accessible for anyone kind of outside that. Now, here's the thing. This is a fan film, so it is made for the fans. That's obviously a deliberate choice. But obviously, if this wants to be a kind of a more mainstream film and attract people who just see it as a kind of science fiction film and kind of a comic book film later on, then I don't think it's accessible, because it's kind of, this world is so rich, and I'll come on to that again in just a second, that it's maybe a little bit inaccessible. It doesn't give you enough kind of backstory about what's going on. But that's on purpose. It was obviously designed that way. The second thing I would say, and I feel like I'm about to kick a puppy through saying this because it is a fan film, is some of the line delivery was a little bit on the nose, I felt. You know, these guys, again, not professional actors. The acting wasn't terrible, don't get me wrong, but there was a couple of just line deliveries here that were just a tad bit kind of like, sounded a little bit awkward, but it's not from everyone, and it's not from all the time. I mean, if you watch kind of straight to DVD films and stuff like that, you've seen a lot worse. But yeah, it was just a couple of lines here where I felt like people were reading lines. But let's talk about the good stuff, shall we? Woo! This is a labour of love to Strontium Dog and 2000 AD in general. Now, this is on YouTube, like I've said. It looks like they've done some other kind of 2000 AD films, which I haven't had a look at yet. So, obviously, they're big fans of this. And it really shows. This is so kind of accurate to the comic book, down to the kind of the look of the world, the props. And if you think of the more recent Judge Dredd movie that starred Karl Urban, that was a great film, and it was quite gritty. But they kind of maybe toned down some of the kind of the more outlandish elements to have for a kind of somewhat more of a kind of gritty film. This film doesn't. It fully embraces the world, which has got lots of kind of colourful mutations and kind of weird technology and stuff like that. It's full on 100% 2000 AD as it was in the comics. So, real labour of love. And the impressive thing here is the production value and the production design. I mean, they have made props from scratch. The actual visual effects here are of an excellent quality. Even for a, you know, maybe not a blockbuster film, but, you know, if you've seen science fiction films, again, on DVD or video on demand, this is on par with those kind of, like, effects. Probably better in a lot of instances. It's quality effects that you would not feel amiss watching if you had to pay for this film. So really, really well done. The costume design, everything. The look of the actual characters, their demeanour, very, very accurate. And there's lots of kind of, like, smaller characters that you'll kind of see and think, oh, do you know, I remember that one from the comic book. I was a big fan of 2008, but it's been a while, so you know, I'm not as well versed in it as I once was. But it's such a well-made film in regards to its directing as well. The way the kind of obviously the framing of the shots, we have a couple of glimpses of kind of first person, and but it kind of works within the story. The editing, sound effects, very, very impressive. I mean, this really is now begging to be either a larger film with, you know, with obviously with more of a kind of a complex plot, or a kind of series. Obviously, Strontium Dog, like I said, not as well known as, say, Judge Dredd, but I mean, this and Strontium Dog and Rogue Trooper were my two favourite characters outside of Judge Dredd. So I'm going to be checking out to see if there's a Rogue Warrior one hanging around somewhere. Rogue Warrior, I would say, is a little bit more well known because there was a video game made of him, but Strontium Dog, you know, definitely worth checking out. I'm not going to rate this film because I don't tend to rate fan films, but I will say it's very, very impressive. And I think if you're just a sci-fi fan in general, you may get a little bit lost in the world, but it's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I'll leave links in the description below. Definitely check it out. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.